The starship glided silently through the blackness of space, its polished metal reflecting the distant glow of nebulae and countless stars. Inside the ship, Lyra Dane adjusted her seat, her fingers brushing nervously against the armrest. She had traveled for months, leaving Earth behind, to arrive at the legendary Vera station, a massive hub for trade and diplomacy among alien civilizations. The station was larger than any city on Earth. A floating metropolis with towers of glass and steel, illuminated by countless lights. Spacecraft of all shapes and sizes docked at its ports, and alien beings of different shapes, sizes, and colors moved gracefully along walkways and corridors. Lyra had read countless reports about the station, but nothing could prepare her for the reality. The air was filled with strange scents, mechanical hums, and the soft glow of energy shields. She walked cautiously toward the station's DNA scanning checkpoint, the first step in gaining official clearance to enter. The checkpoint was guarded by a tall, sleek, alien figure with shimmering silver skin. Its eyes, wide and bright, studied Lyra as she approached. The alien spoke in a calm voice. Though Lyra could not understand the words, a translator device at her ear converted the sounds into perfect English. "Please step forward for DNA verification," the device said. Lyra swallowed. She had been trained for diplomatic visits, but this moment felt surreal. Humans were rare in the galaxy, and her species carried a reputation, one she barely understood herself. Still, she stepped onto the scanning platform, a circular area glowing faintly beneath her feet. The scanner activated with a quiet hum. Lights swept across her body, and she felt a mild vibration in the floor. A screen nearby displayed alien symbols and images that she could not comprehend. But then, suddenly, a loud alarm echoed through the checkpoint. The scanner flashed red. Lyra froze. The alien officer's eyes widened, and several other beings in the area stopped what they were doing to stare at her. The screen above her head blinked insistently. Species, Deathworlder, Earth. Warning. Potential threat. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some aliens stepped back. Others exchanged glances, and a low hum of concern filled the air. Lyra's heart pounded. "Deathworlder?" she whispered to herself, not understanding the full meaning. She only knew it sounded serious. The silver-skinned officer stepped closer, speaking into a device. "Contain the human," it said. And its voice was calm, yet firm. Two smaller robotic assistants moved forward, their metal limbs clinking as they prepared to escort her. Lyra's mind raced. She had trained for emergency situations, but nothing in her studies or simulations had prepared her for this. She tried to speak, to explain, but the officer shook its head. "It is not for discussion. Quarantine is necessary." Before she could react, she was gently but firmly guided onto a hovering platform, lifted off the ground, and carried toward the station's interior. The walls of the corridors shimmered with energy panels, showing flowing lights and alien symbols. Lyra's eyes darted around, taking in the advanced technology, the moving walkways, and the diverse crowd of beings, some with translucent skin, others with wings or extra limbs. She had always dreamed of exploring the galaxy, but now she wondered if she had walked into danger. The platform stopped at a large chamber. Inside, dozens of alien scientists and officials were gathered. They watched her closely, their eyes full of curiosity and caution. Lyra could feel the tension in the air. She was being studied not as a guest, but as something unknown, something potentially dangerous. A figure separated from the group and approached her. This one was different, taller than most, with a calm presence that seemed to command attention without speaking. Its eyes met hers, and for a moment, Lyra felt a strange mixture of fear and awe. "You are the human," the figure said, its voice now translated into English. "We have not encountered one like you before. I am Lyra Dane, from Earth," she replied, keeping her voice steady. "I come in peace, for trade and diplomacy." The alien tilted its head, studying her. "Peaceful or not, your DNA is unusual. It marks you as a Deathworlder. You survive conditions that destroy most species." Lyra's brow furrowed. She had read about humans being resilient, adaptable, even hardy compared to other species. But Deathworlder sounded like a warning, not a compliment. She did not understand the full implications yet, but she felt a strange pride. Humans had survived against impossible odds, from deserts and ice to radiation and disease. She was a representative of that legacy. Whether the aliens understood it or not, you will remain under observation, the figure continued. We must ensure you do not pose a threat to our station or our people. The platform lifted again, this time taking her to a smaller, more secure room. It was quiet, with smooth metallic walls and a soft blue glow. Lyra took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. She knew panic would not help her. She had survived Earth's harshest environments. She could survive this too. As she sat on a small bench, she looked out through a large window at the endless expanse of space. Ships passed by, some moving fast, others slowly. All part of a vast network that connected countless worlds. She realized how small she felt, and yet, how significant her presence was. One human, standing alone in a room on a massive alien station, had drawn the attention of an entire civilization. Hours passed. Alien scientists monitored her every move, scanning, measuring, and observing. Lyra stayed calm, speaking only when addressed, watching, and learning. She noticed small details, the way the aliens communicated, the technology they relied on, and the patterns of movement in the station. Every observation might be useful later, she thought, keeping her mind sharp. Finally, the silver-skinned officer returned. You will meet the council tomorrow, it said. They will decide your place on the station. Prepare yourself. Lyra nodded. Though tired, anxious, and uncertain, she felt a spark of determination. Humans had survived impossible challenges on Earth. Perhaps, here in the stars, they could do it again. That night, alone in her observation chamber, she stared at the stars. She thought of her home planet, of oceans, mountains, and deserts, all places that had shaped humanity into what it was today. She realized that being called a Deathworlder was not a curse. It was a mark of endurance, ingenuity, and survival. And if the aliens saw it as a threat, then perhaps they had yet to understand the true potential of humans. Lyra clenched her fists, feeling a surge of resolve. Tomorrow, she would face the council. And she would show them that one human, from a small blue planet called Earth, could survive, adapt, and even change the course of an alien civilization. The stars outside twinkled like distant eyes, watching, waiting, and Lyra Dane, Deathworlder from Earth, was ready to meet them. Morning came slowly on Vera Station, but time felt different in the observation chamber. Lyra Dane had hardly slept. She had spent the night thinking about the warning she had seen the previous day. Species. Deathworlder. Earth. Potential threat. What did it mean? Why did her DNA alarm the station's scanners? The door slid open with a soft hiss, and the silver-skinned officer returned. The council wishes to speak with you, it said, its voice calm but firm. Lyra rose quickly, straightening her posture. Every step down the corridor felt heavy with anticipation. Alien figures passed by, their eyes briefly flicking toward her, curious and cautious. She felt like she was under a microscope. The council chamber was unlike anything Lyra had imagined. It was a vast circular room, with a high ceiling that glimmered like a starfield. Around a large, glowing table, sat beings of every imaginable form. Some had translucent skin, showing moving veins and pulsating organs. Others had multiple arms or eyes. One even seemed to float above the ground. All of them were watching her. You are the human, said a deep, resonant voice, translated instantly into English. The speaker was tall, with dark, glossy skin and eyes like polished amber. Your DNA has caused concern among our systems. You are classified as a Deathworlder. Lyra took a deep breath. I don't understand. What is a Deathworlder? The council member inclined its head. Deathworlders are species, adapted to survive extreme conditions. Your planet, Earth, is considered a dangerous world. Life there faces heat, cold, storms, radiation, and countless threats. Yet your species thrives. You survive where others would perish. Lyra felt a mixture of pride and unease. Earth was indeed harsh, but humans had always found ways to endure. She remembered stories of explorers, scientists, and ordinary people surviving disasters and extreme environments. Still, she had never imagined the galaxy would label her people as dangerous because of it. Another council member, smaller and covered in fine, shimmering scales, spoke. Your DNA is unique. It adapts quickly. You recover from injuries faster than most species. Your resilience is extraordinary. This is why the scanner issued the warning. You are not understood. Lyra nodded slowly. She wanted to show them she meant no harm. I am here as a diplomat, she said carefully. I represent Earth. We come in peace, to trade and learn. The amber-eyed council member studied her for a long moment. Peace is noted. Yet the potential for threat cannot be ignored. Other species fear Deathworlders. They see you as unpredictable, dangerous. Lyra's mind raced. She had to think fast. Humans were resilient. Yes, but they were also clever, creative, and cooperative. She needed the council to see that, not just her physical ability to survive. I understand your concern, she said, but humans survive because we learn. We adapt, and we work together. That is our strength. Not just endurance, but cooperation and intelligence. The council murmured among themselves. Their translator picked up the low hum of discussion and turned it into words Lyra could understand. Some members were skeptical, others intrigued. She realized that this chamber was not just about judgment, it was a test. Explain, said a voice that sounded like wind over metal, belonging to a being whose form seemed partially made of energy. Show us why your resilience is not only dangerous, but valuable. Lyra took a deep breath. She remembered the countless challenges humans faced on Earth. The deserts of Africa, the frozen lands of Antarctica, cities battered by storms, and volcanoes that reshaped the land. Humans had endured famine, disease, war, and natural disasters, yet continued to thrive. Humans survive because we learn from challenges, she said. Every danger teaches us something new. Every failure is a lesson. Our world is full of extremes, yet we thrive. This makes us not only resilient but inventive. When we face something unknown, we don't panic, we adapt, and we help each other. That is our strength. The council was silent for a moment. Then, the amber-eyed leader spoke again, curious. Most species of your level of resilience are single-minded and destructive. You are different. You survive not to conquer, but to continue. You learn. You adapt. Lyra felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they were starting to understand. Exactly, she said. We do not seek to destroy. We seek to survive and grow. And if we can share our knowledge, we can help others survive too. The energy being tilted slightly, almost as if nodding. Your words are noted. But the galaxy remembers the past. Deathworlders are feared because they endure conditions that kill other species. That power can be a threat if misused. I understand, Lyra replied. But it can also be a gift. Humans have survived where others could not. That means we can offer hope, solutions, and protection. We do not have to be a threat, the council murmured again. This time, the tone was less cautious and more curious. Some members whispered to each other. Lyra could feel their attention shifting from fear to interest. She had seen enough to know that respect was possible even here. Very well, said the amber-eyed leader finally. We will observe you further. You will be given controlled tasks, designed to test your capabilities. Not to punish, but to understand. Lyra nodded. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready. The session ended, and Lyra was escorted back to her chamber. She walked slowly, her mind racing. She had survived Earth's deserts and storms, but nothing had prepared her for the judgment of an entire alien council. Yet she felt a new determination. Humans were not just survivors. They were explorers, thinkers, and problem solvers. If she could show that, perhaps the council would see humanity in a new light. Later, as she rested, Lyra thought about the station itself. Vera Station was a marvel. A city of science and trade floating in space. She realized that to survive here, she would need more than physical resilience. She would need observation, intelligence, and quick thinking. Every corner of the station held unknown technologies, strange customs, and alien minds that thought differently from hers. But humans had always faced the unknown. Earth itself had been full of mysteries and dangers, yet her species had grown stronger because of it. She smiled faintly, realizing that being called a Death Worlder was not a curse. It was a mark of strength and potential. Tomorrow, she would face the Council's tasks. She did not know exactly what challenges awaited her, but one thing was certain: humans were survivors, and she intended to prove it. As the stars outside the observation chamber twinkled softly, Lyra sat upright, her eyes sharp, her mind alert. She was no longer just a visitor. She was a human from Earth, a Death Worlder, and she would show the galaxy that her species was capable of far more than fear alone could measure. The galaxy had seen the warning. Now, it would see the truth of humanity. The next morning, Lyra Dane was escorted from her observation chamber to a large, enclosed arena. The walls were high and metallic, glowing with soft light. Strange symbols ran across panels embedded in the floor and ceiling. The council had arranged something unusual, something she could sense immediately. You will face controlled simulations, said the silver-skinned officer. These are tests, not punishments. We must understand the capabilities of a Death Worlder. Lyra nodded, her heart steady. She had survived deserts, storms, freezing mountains, and radioactive zones on Earth. Yet the station's environment was different, alien, unpredictable, and engineered to challenge even the most adaptable life forms. The arena hummed, and a section of the wall slid open. A chamber beyond flickered into existence. A miniature environment resembling a harsh desert. Heat waves shimmered in the air, and the floor radiated intense warmth. Lyra could feel the heat pressing against her skin even before she stepped inside. The first test began. Sensors detected her movements and projected virtual obstacles across the terrain. Blasts of heated air simulated solar flares, while robotic predators, small, fast, and sharp, pursued her relentlessly. Lyra's mind worked quickly. She ducked behind boulders, rolled across sandy slopes, and climbed jagged rocks to gain higher ground. The robotic predators adjusted their patterns with every move she made. But she adapted faster. She remembered techniques from Earth, survival training. Observe, anticipate, act. Each movement was precise, conserving energy while maximizing efficiency. Minutes felt like hours. The heat was exhausting. Yet Lyra pushed herself, drawing on every bit of endurance she had honed through years of outdoor survival and training. When a robotic predator lunged at her from the side, she rolled to the ground, grabbing a loose rock and using it to block the attack. The robot staggered, and she sprinted to safer ground. The desert simulation faded, replaced by a sudden shift. A toxic gas environment. A dense, green fog filled the arena. Lyra coughed, her lungs burning as the air became harder to breathe. She noticed the sensors indicating safe zones, areas where the gas was less concentrated. Moving quickly and carefully, she leapt from one safe zone to another, avoiding the thickest clouds. Her body reacted instinctively. Humans on Earth had survived volcanic eruptions and polluted cities. They had learned to endure toxic environments. She used that same instinct now, holding her breath, moving efficiently, and keeping her mind calm despite the danger. Finally, the gas dissipated, and the arena transformed again. This time, the challenge was gravity manipulation. Platforms shifted, floated, and dropped unpredictably. Lyra had to leap from one moving platform to another, timing her jumps perfectly. One wrong move would send her crashing to the floor. She adjusted quickly, watching the patterns, analyzing the timing. Humans were not the strongest species, but they were clever. She used balance, timing, and observation to navigate the platforms, landing lightly despite the shifting gravity. The sensors above her recorded every step, every jump, every calculated move. By the time the test concluded, sweat dripped from Lyra's brow. Her muscles ached, her lungs burned, and her heart raced, but she had completed it. The robotic predators powered down, the fog cleared, and the platform stabilized. The arena fell silent. The silver-skinned officer approached. "Your performance is impressive," it said. "Most species would have failed under these conditions, yet you adapted, survived, and succeeded. Your resilience is remarkable." Lyra exhaled, allowing herself a brief moment of relief. "Thank you," she replied. "I have survived many environments on Earth. I guess I'm used to finding solutions in dangerous situations." A voice from above, one of the council members, spoke. "Your adaptability is only part of your strength. We have observed something else. Ingenuity. You do not merely react, you anticipate, learn, and innovate. This is unusual, even among species classified as extreme survivors." Lyra felt a sense of pride, but she did not let it show too strongly. She knew the tests were only the beginning. The council's observations would continue, and more challenges lay ahead. As she stepped out of the arena, she noticed small, hidden cameras tracking her every movement. It was not only her strength and endurance they studied, it was her mind, her strategies, her ability to think under pressure. Humans survived because they could adapt physically, yes. But more importantly, they used intelligence, creativity, and teamwork to overcome challenges. The silver-skinned officer led her to a quieter area, away from the council chamber. "Some of our scientists are curious," it said. "They wish to study how your species' DNA allows for such rapid adaptation. There may be applications for survival in extreme environments elsewhere in the galaxy." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Applications?" she asked. "Yes," the officer replied. "Your resilience is valuable. If understood, it could help species survive planets considered uninhabitable. It could save lives. But some council members fear what happens if your abilities are misused. That is why observation continues." Lyra nodded slowly. She understood now that being called a Death Worlder was not just about danger, it was also about potential. Humans could survive, endure, and even help others survive, but other species feared the unknown in the same way humans feared new threats. Her mind wandered briefly to Earth, to oceans and forests, deserts and mountains. The people she had left behind. Humans were small in the galaxy, yet their resilience and ingenuity made them stand out. She realized that the galaxy had yet to understand the full potential of her species. The officer led her to a small chamber where she could rest. Sensors in the walls monitored her vital signs, while holographic screens displayed information about her performance. Lyra watched quietly, thinking ahead. The next tests would be harder. She knew. The council was not just studying survival, they were studying how far a human could go. Hours passed, and she trained herself quietly. She practiced breathing techniques to maintain calm under stress, visualized strategies for unknown challenges, and reviewed every move she had made in the arena. Humans survived because they prepared, adapted, and learned. Lyra intended to show the council that Earthlings were not just survivors, they were innovators, problem solvers, and leaders when danger arose. When the silver-skinned officer returned, it brought news. The council wishes to observe further. Tomorrow, a more complex environment awaits. You may rest tonight. But be ready. Your ingenuity will be tested. Lyra smiled faintly. She was ready. Humans had survived impossible odds on their home planet. On this alien station, faced with unfamiliar dangers, she would continue to prove that Earthlings were not just resilient, they were extraordinary. As night fell over the station, the stars outside glimmered like distant eyes, watching, waiting. Lyra Dane, Deathworlder from Earth, had survived her first trial, but she knew that true challenges were still ahead, and she would meet them with the same courage, intelligence, and adaptability that had carried humanity across the eons. The following morning, the station hummed with activity. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved through docking bays, while alien traders, scientists, and officials hurried through corridors. Lyra Dane walked with purpose, flanked by the silver-skinned officer. She had survived her first test, but she sensed that the Council's challenges were only growing more complex. They will test not only your survival skills, but also your judgment, the officer said. Some of the Council fear Deathworlders. Others see potential. The divisions may work against you. Lyra nodded. She had learned quickly that intelligence alone was not enough. Diplomacy, observation, and careful decisions could be as crucial as physical strength. As they approached a secure corridor, she noticed subtle signs of tension. Small groups of alien officials whispered in corners, glances flicking toward her. One group, in particular, seemed wary, even hostile. Lyra's instincts, sharpened by years of facing danger on Earth, told her these individuals were plotting something. The officer guided her into a chamber labeled Strategic Simulations. Inside, holographic projections of alien worlds and ships rotated in mid-air. A soft hum filled the room as council members entered. Lyra recognized some from her first meeting, the amber-eyed leader and the energy being, though others were new. You have proven your physical resilience, said the amber-eyed leader. Now we test your judgment. These simulations will challenge your ability to make decisions under pressure, with consequences for both yourself and others. The first scenario activated. Lyra found herself in a simulated alien city under attack. Robotic attackers advanced through streets, and holographic civilians, small, fragile beings, scattered in panic. Lyra had a choice: save as many civilians as possible, or focus on neutralizing the attackers to prevent further destruction. Her mind raced. On Earth, she had faced disasters where she had to prioritize quickly. Floods, fires, and storms had forced rapid decision-making. Here, the stakes felt different, but the principle was the same. She analyzed the situation. Noting the positions of civilians and attackers, using quick thinking, she devised a plan. Distract the attackers with environmental hazards, funnel them away from civilians, and then neutralize them. She acted with precision. Holographic walls shifted to block attackers. Pathways opened to guide civilians to safety. And energy traps incapacitated the robots. When the scenario ended, the council observed silently. Lyra exhaled, realizing the test was less about combat and more about leadership and strategy. Next, the simulation shifted to a space scenario. A cargo freighter floated helplessly near a collapsing star. With passengers inside, alien smugglers had tampered with the ship, and failure to act quickly would destroy it. Lyra assessed the controls, studied the ship's energy fields, and made split-second decisions to stabilize the ship. She redirected energy to shields, rerouted power to engines, and used the ship's robotic systems to evacuate passengers. Minutes later, the simulation ended. Lyra felt a rush of satisfaction, but she knew it was temporary. Some council members, especially the ones who had appeared hostile before, whispered and exchanged glances. They clearly did not trust her. You demonstrate intellect and courage, said the energy being, its voice calm yet resonant. But courage alone will not secure your place. Some see your abilities as a threat. Others fear what humans might do if given freedom. Lyra realized she had underestimated the political dimension of the station. Survival was not enough. She had to navigate the complex web of alien opinions, fears, and ambitions. She would need allies, strategy, and patience. The silver-skinned officer led her back to a smaller room for debriefing. "You notice them, yes?" it asked. "Some factions want to contain humans. They fear your species' adaptability, your resilience, and your ingenuity. Others see the potential benefits." "I see it," Lyra replied. "And I know I can't rely on everyone trusting me. I need to be smart, careful, observant, and ready for anything." That evening, while studying the arena data, Lyra discovered a troubling pattern. Some security systems she had assumed were neutral were being manipulated to limit her access, subtly testing not just her abilities but her patience and awareness. Someone in the council wanted her to fail or to appear weak. Her instincts screamed that she needed allies. Not all council members were hostile. The amber-eyed leader, the energy being, and a few others had shown interest, curiosity, even respect. If she could gain their support, she could navigate the politics without being trapped by fear and suspicion. The next day, another challenge arrived, but this one was different. She was summoned to the station's engineering deck, a vast area filled with complex machinery, floating platforms, and energy conduits. A section of the deck had been sabotaged, and a critical reactor core was at risk. "Stabilize the system," the officer instructed. "If the reactor fails, parts of the station could be destroyed. You must act quickly." Lyra's mind went into overdrive. She scanned the systems, identifying weaknesses and potential solutions. Unlike previous tests, this was real-time problem-solving under pressure. She rerouted energy, bypassed damaged conduits, and used her knowledge of mechanical principles to stabilize the reactor. Halfway through the task, a group of hostile council members attempted to interfere, sending automated security drones to obstruct her. Lyra did not panic. She anticipated their moves, redirected energy to neutralize the drones, and continued her work. By the time she completed the task, the reactor was stabilized, and the potential disaster averted. The council watched in stunned silence. Even the hostile members could not deny her skill. Lyra realized then that fear could be overcome with action and competence. Humans were not only survivors, they were problem solvers, innovators, and quick thinkers. Afterward, the amber-eyed leader approached her privately. "You have impressed us," it said. "Your survival is remarkable, but your intellect and foresight are extraordinary. Some fear your abilities, others respect them. This is the path of a Deathworlder. You survive, yes, but you also shape outcomes." Lyra nodded. She understood now that being a Deathworlder was not just about physical endurance. It was about thinking ahead, acting decisively, and inspiring others. That night, she rested in her chamber, reflecting on the day. The hostile factions were still plotting, but she had proven herself. She had survived not only tests of endurance, but also political intrigue, sabotage, and subtle opposition. Humans could adapt physically, but more importantly, they could adapt socially and strategically. As she looked out at the stars beyond the station, Lyra felt a quiet determination. The galaxy feared humans because it did not understand them, but she would continue to show that humans were not only survivors, they were capable of leadership, courage, and change. And, if necessary, she would defend herself, her species, and her place among the stars. The station slept quietly around her, unaware that a single human had already begun to shift the balance of power. Lyra Dane, Deathworlder from Earth, had survived her trials, earned respect from some, and caught the wary attention of others. The next step would be even greater, and she was ready. The station was alive with quiet tension. Word of Lyra Dane's successes had spread through the corridors, though some still whispered warily about the Deathworlder from Earth. Lyra walked steadily, accompanied by the silver-skinned officer, toward the central command hub of Vera Station. Today, she would face the final council session. Today, the galaxy would see what humans could truly do. The chamber was vast, larger than any council room she had seen before. Holographic displays hovered above the central table, showing the station's systems, docking ports, and distant planets. Every council member was present, some curious, some fearful, some hostile. Their gazes followed Lyra as she entered. She could feel the weight of history and expectation pressing down. "You have survived tests of endurance, intellect, and strategy," said the amber-eyed leader, his voice calm but firm. "Yet there remain those among us who fear your potential. Some see your species as a threat. Others wonder if you can truly be trusted." Lyra squared her shoulders. "I understand your caution," she said. "Humans are called Deathworlders because we survive conditions that would destroy most species. But survival is not our only skill. We learn, we adapt, and we cooperate. We do not seek to harm others, we seek to endure, to grow, and to help when we can." A murmur ran through the chamber. The hostile faction stiffened, but some council members leaned forward, intrigued. Lyra could feel the tension, but also the attention. This was her moment. The amber-eyed leader gestured to the holographic controls. "You have observed our station, our technologies, and our systems. What would you do if we entrusted you with greater freedom? How would you use your abilities?" Lyra's mind worked quickly. She thought of the station, its people, and her own species' values. Humans had always survived because they helped each other, innovated, and adapted. She needed to show the council that this was more than physical resilience. It was a moral and intellectual strength. "Given freedom," she said, "humans would work with you, not against you. We would offer our ingenuity to solve problems, our courage to face dangers, and our adaptability to endure challenges. We are not only survivors, we are collaborators. We can help protect your station, explore the galaxy, and ensure that any life can thrive in difficult worlds." The council observed silently. Then, a member who had been hostile from the start, its wings twitching nervously, spoke. "Your words are ambitious. But how can we be sure? How do we know this is not another threat disguised as cooperation?" Lyra met its gaze. "You know who we are now. You have seen what one human can do under extreme tests. Imagine not one, but many. Fear comes from the unknown. I am offering understanding. Test us further if you must, but know this. Humans survive, not for conquest, but for life. And once you understand us, fear will fade." The energy being, its form flickering like a living light, leaned slightly forward. "She speaks wisely," it said. "Her actions have demonstrated intellect, courage, and judgment. These are qualities rare among Deathworlders. And yet she embodies them fully. Perhaps it is time we reconsidered our assumptions." The amber-eyed leader nodded. "Your performance has changed opinions, and your words are compelling. Humans have been feared, yes. But you have shown that your species' true strength lies not just in survival, but in principles, foresight, and cooperation." A silence fell over the chamber. Even the hostile members could not deny the evidence. Lyra Dane, one human from Earth, had survived deadly tests, navigated sabotage, and solved problems that threatened the station itself. The galaxy had seen her strength and could not ignore it. The amber-eyed leader spoke again, addressing the entire council. "Let it be known. One human has proven that the species of Earth is not merely a survivor. Humans are adaptable, intelligent, and capable of cooperation. We recognize their value and potential. Any attempt to restrict them unfairly will be reconsidered." A murmur of acknowledgement rippled through the chamber. Some members nodded, others looked thoughtful. Even those who had opposed her seemed to be reconsidering. Lyra could feel the shift. Humans were no longer just a curiosity, they were respected. The silver-skinned officer approached her quietly. "You have changed their minds," it said softly. "Your species may now engage freely with the station, under observation, but with far greater trust than before. You have done more than survive, you have shown humanity." Lyra nodded, a quiet smile on her face. It had been more than physical trials that mattered. Her courage, intelligence, and understanding of cooperation had spoken louder than any test. Humans had survived the harshest conditions on Earth because they worked together, adapted, and persevered. Here, among alien civilizations, the same qualities had earned respect. Later, as she walked through the station, she noticed subtle changes. Aliens who had once avoided her now offered polite greetings. Some sought advice or conversation, curious about her perspective. The hostile factions still watched her, but warily, as if unsure whether to continue opposing someone who had proven herself so convincingly. In a quieter chamber, she reflected on what had happened. Earth had prepared humans for the unknown, shaping them into survivors. But the galaxy demanded more: intelligence, diplomacy, and integrity. She realized that humans were capable of both survival and influence. One human could not only endure challenges, they could change perceptions, build alliances, and inspire respect. As she looked out through the observation window at the swirling stars and distant planets, Lyra felt a sense of purpose. Humanity was small, fragile even, in the vast galaxy. But their potential was immense. One human had proven it here today, and one day, more would follow, carrying the same resilience, ingenuity, and courage. The station's lights shimmered softly, reflecting off the metal walls. Somewhere in the distance, ships moved silently between worlds. Lyra knew that her journey was only beginning. Earthlings would continue to explore, learn, and survive. And the galaxy would watch, sometimes with caution, sometimes with curiosity, but always with recognition of the Deathworlders from Earth. That night, as she rested in her chamber, Lyra allowed herself a quiet smile. She had faced tests, danger, and suspicion. She had navigated alien politics, sabotage, and fear. And she had emerged not just alive, but respected. Humans were not just survivors, they were leaders in their own right. The stars outside twinkled like distant witnesses, watching humanity's first true step into the galaxy. Lyra Dane, Deathworlder from Earth, had not only survived the trials of Vera Station, she had proven the value and potential of her species. And somewhere in the quiet corridors of the Council, decisions were being made that would shape the future of human exploration, trade, and cooperation among the stars. Humans were no longer a distant curiosity, they were a force to respect. A species shaped by survival and destined to leave their mark on the galaxy. The galaxy had seen the warning. Now, it had witnessed the truth of humanity.